Hi, I'm Annika Chapin, Director of Artistic Development here at Signature. And one thing that is often misunderstood about musicals is also the thing that defines them, that the songs in a musical carry as much dramatic weight as the scenes, which means that songs are not simply moments in musicals where the storytelling stops and we do some fun dancing and singing before we resume the plot, but key plot elements using music to communicate on a deeper emotional level while the lyrics communicate on a language level. After all, I think every human understands that music speaks to us on a visceral emotional level. Think about the song you play when you are heartbroken versus the song that you play when you want everyone at a party to dance happily, right? Musicals use that communication as a vital tool. To show you what I mean by this, I'm going to look at a song from the show Sweeney Todd, which was written by Stephen Sondheim, the great, who of course wrote the music and lyrics, and Hugh Wheeler, who wrote the book. At the end of the first act, the protagonist of the show, Sweeney Todd, goes from a man who is rightfully angry about a great harm done to him and who wants revenge against the person who did that harm, to a man who has decided that he will kill innocent people. He has a breakdown and comes back together as a new version of himself with a new purpose. And this all takes place entirely within the song Epiphany. In less than 4 minutes, the music and lyrics give us a full portrait of exactly what is going on in Sweeney's head and heart during this pivotal moment, the ingredients of his change from a sane man to an insane one. So, how does the song do this? Let's dive in. And just a note, I will be using the live recording from 2000 with George Hearn as Sweeney, Patti LuPone as Mrs. Lovett, and the New York Philharmonic. There are many great recordings with Sweeney, but this one I love because it really gives you that lush full orchestra and George Hearn, who is so great. So first, the setup. Sweeney has just had the evil judge, who has been responsible for the loss of his wife Lucy and daughter Joanna, in his barber's chair, and very nearly succeeded at his goal, getting revenge by murdering him. But this has gone wrong. You'll hear Sweeney, played by Hearn, here, as well as Patti LuPone as Mrs. Lovett, the woman who has sort of partnered with Sweeney for his goals, all of them. Let's start listening to the song.
Out!
All this running and shouting! What is it now, dear?
I had him and
The
then...
sailor busted and I saw them both running down the street. And I said to myself, the fat's in the fire for sure.
I had him! His throat was bare beneath my hand.
There, dear, don't fret.
No, I had him! His throat was there and he'll never come again.
We're getting a transition out of the scene into the song, but already the mood is set here in the music. The lyrics are telling us that Sweeney is frustrated and Mrs. Lovett is trying to calm him down, but the music is giving us something more. That coiled repeating phrase, which is a reprise of a theme from Sweeney's first appearance, interrupted by these booming bass notes. Even if we didn't have this dialogue, we would know that something is coming. This music is tense, and these booming, angry notes are loud and low enough that you can literally feel them in your body. You can physically feel his rage, and it is terrifying. And because this is interrupting both his own previous theme and Mrs. Lovett's attempt to get him back on track, we know something is now very different with him. I call this beginning section the rage section because it shows us Sweeney's anger at its most frightening and chaotic. Let's hear a little more of this section.
Now, hush, love, hush. I keep telling you.
When?
What's your rush?
Why did I wait? You told me to wait. Now he'll never come again. There's a hole in the world like a great black pit, and it's filled with people who are filled with shit, and the vermin of the world inhabit it. But not for long.
Everything here is crashing together. We get that coiled phrase again, now twice as fast, and a reprise of Mrs. Lovett's Hush, Love, Hush, but now it isn't comforting. It's backed by these repetitive woodwinds that sound like the stabbing violins from Psycho. Driving, aggressive, wrong. She can't get things calmed down now. This is Sweeney's show. He sings a reprise of his verse about London being a pit, but now it's much faster and more frenzied. And then we get very different music on But Not For Long. It stops that frenzied music and tells us that the Sweeney who arrived at the top of the show, who sang that first version of There's a Hole in the World Like a Great Black Pit, has made a decision and is going to do something different. The vermin of the world inhabit it, but not for long. It's an ominous statement, a musical and lyrical punctuation. It's also the first indication of what will become the new version of Sweeney that we'll see at the end of this song.
They all deserve to die. Tell you why, Mrs. Lovett, tell you why. Because in all of the whole human race, Mrs. Lovett, there are two kinds of men and only two. There's the one staying put in his proper place and the one with his foot in the other one's face. Look at me, Mrs. Lovett, look at you. No, we all deserve to die. Even you, Mrs. Lovett, even I. Because the lives of the wicked should be made brief. For the rest of us, death will be a relief. We all deserve to die.
This is the introduction of what I call the second section of the song, planning. After the angry chaos of the beginning of the song, this is new. The music is ordered, it's organized. It sounds like a military march, a planned excursion into the battle. And the lyrics match. Sweeney is formulating his worldview in the lyrics. Everyone deserves to die. And here's where Sondheim is especially brilliant. Dies Irae, the famous Latin Requiem Mass, which literally translates as the day of wrath and doom impending, is buried in the bass line of this section before Sweeney sings. This musical phrase appears in various forms all throughout the show, but by putting it here underlining this moment, Sondheim is signaling to us that Sweeney is here building his own judgment day for himself and others.
And I'll never see Joanna. No, I'll never hug my girl to me. Finished! All right!
Now we get the third major section of this song, which is so different from what's come before, grief. He's singing about missing his lost daughter, and this is pure emotion. Long lyrical sections and a phrase taken from Joanna's song, Greenfinch and Linnetbird. Lots of strings, and the instruction in the score to sing and play cantabile, which means smoothly, as opposed to the instruction earlier in the song to play furioso or agitato. We can feel his sweeping sorrow here. But at the end of the section, he pushes away this raw emotion with finished. He's not going to stay grieving, just as he's not going to stay in the chaos of his early rage.
Finished! All right, you sir, how about a shave? Come and visit your good friend Sweeney. You sir, too sir, welcome to the grave.
This is the fourth section, madness. We've seen a little bit of this sense of something being very off with Sweeney earlier in the planning section with the strange loping music in The Lives of the Wicked Should Be Made Brief and the strange collapsing percussion. It sounds off. But here, Sweeney has broken the rules of theater. He's broken the fourth wall, which is what we call the barrier between the audience and the stage. This makes us doubly uncomfortable. We're watching a man break down, and now he's talking right to us. We don't know what to do. We can't maintain that same separation between audience and actor. The character is literally threatening us, the people who have paid money to watch a musical. It's yet another layer of discomfort for us, and yet another indication of Sweeney's total breakdown. And then something really interesting happens.
I will have vengeance. I will have salvation.
We get the music of the emotional section, but instead of the lyrics being about his lost family, they are about revenge. The sections are starting to crosswire. We are watching these four elements of Sweeney's breaking apart begin to come together, but overlapping and malformed.
Who, sir? You, sir? No one in the chair. Come on, come on! Sweeney's waiting. I want you bleeders. You, sir. Anybody, gentlemen, now don't be shy. Not one man. No, nor 10 men. Nor 100 can assuage me. I will have you.
We go back to the breaking of the fourth wall. And then the emotional music returns, but now it's really gotten far from his original heart. Not one man, no, nor 10 men, nor 100 can assuage me. His rage and planning in the lyrics has now morphed with his grief in the music. The song is telling us that out of these different elements of Sweeney's breaking apart, his rage, his planning, his grief, and his madness, they're starting to fuse together into something new. It's a musical portrait of the Frankenstein's monster that Sweeney is becoming. And after that, we get a moment where there are no lyrics at all, just as his breaking the fourth wall broke the rules of the song and left us uncomfortable and unsure of what was going to come next. Now Sweeney has abandoned his own music. He's gone where there is no predictable path.
I will get him back even as he gloats. In the meantime, I'll practice on less honorable throats. And my Lucy, lies in ashes, and I'll never see my girl again. But the work waits. I'm alive at last, and I'm full of joy.
After that music, where it feels like we are terrified of what could possibly come next, we get a statement of Sweeney's new purpose in this strange, broken music that has been our madness music. Here's the key lyric that indicates the change in Sweeney over the course of the song. I will get him back even as he gloats. In the meantime, I'll practice on less honorable throats. Sweeney has changed into someone who will kill indiscriminately, which he wasn't before this song. And after that, he gets one last glimpse of the man he was. We return to the grief music with the grief lyrics, this time about his wife. One last section of Sweeney is still intact, but he pushes it away. The work waits, he says. And after we have seen all of these sections of Sweeney's self break apart, this is him coming back together, fully fusing into his new form. We get this tense, dark, building music and these strange lyrics, I'm alive at last and I'm full of joy. And on that gorgeous final note, we have a resolution into this beautiful church-like chord on the word joy. Sweeney has formed into a new, monstrous version of himself with a new purpose. He is no longer just seeking revenge. He has become an indiscriminate murderer. We have seen in this brief song all of the parts of his broken self compete for space and then start to overlap each other to form someone who is no longer what we would call sane. The music and the lyrics have shown us the breaking apart and the coming back together in a new and terrifying form.